What are your salary expectations? So this is a job interview question which typically always comes up, especially in corporate roles. Um, it could be a bit of a trick question, and it's a question which I try to avoid or recommend you avoid answering directly, as it can be used against you. It could be used against you from the point of view that if there is a multi-phase interview process and we're at stage one of that process, they use this question to eliminate the candidates that give the wrong answer. So, for an example, if you quote a figure that's too high, they're going to presume that your salary expectations are too ambitious for this particular role and you may be eliminated. Whereas if you quote a figure that's too low, what could happen is they may feel that you are too inexperienced or too junior for this particular role. And again, they might use this as an excuse to eliminate you from the interview process. So the best way to handle this is to give an answer which is clear, concise, but very vague as far as the financials. So you could say something to the effect of, I have a passion for this industry, so money isn't my primary focus. It's more about the project and the people that I work with than the money. So that's a fantastic answer, because you're pretty much answering without answering. You're saying that you're a dedicated person and you're going to work very hard. And if the project's exciting at that company and the people are good to work with, that outweighs the money. And that way, most interviewers will probably move on at this stage. You can answer this question in a different way. You can outright avoid by saying something like, I'm still learning about your company. I'm still learning about your expectations. I'm still learning about the roles and responsibility. So I'm not in the position to give you an exact salary figure right now. However, I look forward to answering this question at a later stage. So this response gives you the breathing room to say, wait a minute, I want to give you an answer. I want to answer this question, but I'll answer it later. More than likely, they won't ask you again. And if they do ask you again, maybe you would have more information at your disposal, or maybe it'll be at the second phase interview. But that's a good answer. If you're feeling pressured to give a figure, I would say, if you feel very, like you have to, and they're being very forceful, or they keep repeating the question, perhaps give a figure that you feel is fair for the industry that you're in. You know your industry better than anybody else, so you know what the going rate should be. But do not commit to saying a specific number. So if you feel that the fair amount is £30,000, if you feel that the fair amount is £30,000, you'll give a range instead of a wide boundary. You would say, I'm looking for approximately between £30,000 to £40,000. So it gives you a little bit of flexibility. So if the hiring manager is looking to recruit at, say, £35,000 or 37, 38, it still fits within that boundary, and it's not you're not saying something outlandish. So how you can phrase it is, you can say something like, use words like approximately, or you can use words like in the range of. A good way that you can phrase this is, I'm looking for approximately £30,000 to £40,000, or you can use the word, I'm looking for about £30,000 to £40,000, or I'm looking for a salary in the range of £30,000 to £40,000. So by doing this, as I said before, it gives you a little bit more flexibility. The interviewer will not penalise you for doing that. And again, it gives you a little bit more scope. Also, if the job interview says the salary, like explicitly says, we pay £35,000, you can, again, I'll still avoid answering it directly, but if you feel pressured, as you know the salary and it's on the advert, in this case, it might be better to say the exact amount that's on the advert. However, again, you can use the range, which I mentioned before. You can say something slightly underneath and slightly above. So again, if the role is paying £35,000 and it's confirmed in the advert, you could say something like, from what I've seen on the advert, the role pays £35,000. I believe that this is around about the correct figure which I'm looking for. And I say roundabout as you're not saying this is the exact figure, where you say it's approximately around that figure that I'm looking for. That's probably the best way to say it. If the job interview says the salary in a range, let's just say the advert says they pay between £50,000 and £60,000, you can all equally say, well, according to the advert, it pays between £50,000 and £60,000. However, given my experience and qualifications, and I've worked on similar projects before, I feel that my salary range should be the topper segment of that figure. So you're pretty much saying, I've done my research, I know how much you're paying. My experience should reward me to the upper figure of that, but you're not saying the exact upper figure. So I'm presuming that if you get called in for the second interview or you get offered the job, you can negotiate further. Another thing which isn't very talked about very much is don't feel embarrassed or afraid to actually ask them. If to say the salary isn't listed and you're unsure about how to approximate it, just at the interview, if you're asked what your salary expectation is, just say in typically in this industry it pays between X and X. However, your job advert didn't say the exact amount. Can you please tell me how much the budget is for this particular role? And you'll be surprised, a lot of hiring managers will literally tell you the salary range. So again, interview is a two-way process, so don't feel afraid to ask that question yourself if you feel that you have to. At the end of the day, you don't want to waste your time, because if they say that the salary is significantly less than what you would accept, there may be no point you going to the second interview or the third interview stage for salary which is far lower than what you would accept. So keep that in mind. But yeah, I hope that answers your question. Let me know how your job interview goes. Until next time.